everybody. Welcome to our show.
Hello.
Guys, we're excited to see you. I'm pretty sure you're excited to see us. So, guys, we're excited to get into it on this episode. Here on
Transparent
with
with
the
the
Townsends.
Townsends. Yeah. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about how we stopped trying to conceive a baby, TTC, trying to conceive.
Yeah. So, as most of you guys know, if you've watched the previous episodes, we talk about how stressful and anxiety inducing the TTC journey was for us. Particularly like once doctors started getting involved and we found out that we both had, medical things that had to be overcome before we were going to be able to have a baby. So today we're just kind of going to talk about how we resolved those things and kind of made peace with being childless essentially because we really like our story's not over,
No.
where we don't have a baby, but we are out of this stage where we were very consumed by everything that was going on and letting it affect us negatively in a negative way. And we were able, with the grace of God, to, overcome a lot of the negative feelings that come with that process, or at least that came with the process for us in our experience. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. It has been a long journey. What, 3-4 years?
So it hasn't been that long. It's been, so we talked about year one.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about year two. Like, essentially, I think this for us now is going into year three. Like, in February, it will have been 3 years since I've been off birth control. So I guess that would be 3 years of infertility or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, and it's not the longest process because there are people who've gone for a lot more years.
That's true.
With this battle and with this struggle, and have also gone through a lot more things. Like we obviously decided to stop before we went into like getting fertility counseling and really going through the process with other reproductive, outlets because we knew IVF and IUI were not really an option for us. At least not now, like at the moment. And I think the reason why was just because we realized our motives in trying to conceive weren't really pure. In the last video we talked about the revelation that we had and how we realized we really didn't want a baby for us. It was more so like for the people who said it's time for you to have a baby and when are you guys going to get pregnant, or you've been married this much time.
Yep.
Like, it's time for you to have a baby now. Like that's what you do. You get pregnant. So yeah. I guess we can just kind of talk about what we went through personally and how we were able to make peace with it.
Sounds good. So, I guess with that whole process, I think I talked about this in a couple other videos. Like the whole process to get to that revelation, I think was like slow but steady, and I kind of think I got there before you.
Oh, I'm sure of it. Yeah.
Because I definitely, God was showing me more and more how the whole process of pregnancy wasn't in my control. I think even through the people who were interacting with me, like, the doctors and all the other people I went through with, the analysis people and all the different things like that, everybody was pushing, the pregnancy as far as like more in my wife's control or the female body's control, or making it seem like I didn't have, much in the process except for just giving seed. Which, so for me, I already felt isolated and I understood a little bit more. But I think in that isolation, God kind of stayed with me to help me through that process, to make sure that I didn't further isolate myself in a negative manner, which I think I'm very thankful for him for that, that he kept me in the midst of that potential darkness. And then...
Would you say God was very central to... Well, I guess definitely yours, probably from the beginning, but I think God was very central, obviously, for both of us in our coming back to ourselves, I think, after all of that.
Oh yeah, he was super central. Because of the fact, like I felt like looking back on it, I can definitely see how everybody, in a sense, was isolating me and making me. It's like I was already in the point where I was feeling. I talked about this in the last video, I think, where as a man I wasn't able to provide the seed because of.
Do you mean isolating or like ostracizing you?
Yes, I think ostracized is actually a better word. Um, Belittling. I don't know.
Oh yeah, shaming.
Shaming, there we go.
Got you.
Shaming me for
Got
the
you.
standpoint like, you can't do this, so we got to
Mm.
do everything we can with your wife's body in order to make sure that she can overcompensate to help you to, have a baby. So there's already that going on with the shaming. And so that shaming was an isolating factor.
Mm.
Um, but
Yeah.
in that process, God was definitely there to give me peace and reveal to me more and more how, at the end of the day, even if, that is part of the process of how my body is, like, He is Lord overall. He's sovereign, and that He can provide. And I think I definitely saw that more through the stories in the Bible, as far as like Abraham and Sarah, and the barrenness or infertility there, and up into the older age. Lord, please don't let us have to be 100 or have kids. But
Oh.
and then
Mm-mm.
you had the same thing with other people in the Bible where they dealt with that. I think the story of Hannah and her going through that process for years definitely spoke to me too. Mind you, I'm talking about female aspects of things, but I mean, I think that is important from a male perspective too, because I can still relate and connect with the feelings that they felt that were portrayed in the scriptures. So for me, it's just kind of like him allowing me to see as I read deeper, and then as the messages and the sermons that we received during that time, and then also just the comfort that I felt through prayer, um, and just kind of connecting through worship, I think definitely helped me to kind of get through, but also him speaking to me and allowing me to see that um, I'm just a planter of the seed.
Mm.
The Lord is the Lord of the harvest, and He's the one who actually makes the seed come forth. Um, so I can only do what I can do, but it's like I said before, it's in our partnership with Him that allows that seed to actually come forth. Um, I can't make the seed happen, just like I can't make myself wake up in the morning. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like He gives life to me physically, just like He will give life to the seed when it's time for the baby to be born. So that definitely gave me comfort. It helped me to understand early on that it's not in my control. So since it's not in my control, I need to trust Him in that. If I
Mm-hmm.
trust Him in that, then I can have peace.
Yeah.
So that was my process, I
That's
think.
good. You know what? When you brought up Hannah, it reminded me of, and I think this was recently. We both were watching this sermon, and it was a sermon about the Hannah anointing. And I'll probably put a link down there in the bottom to it if you're interested. And in the sermon, the pastor starts talking about, or I think she's a minister actually, I don't think she's a pastor. She starts talking about how the Lord had closed up her womb.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think so often we think that it's something we did wrong or that it's something that we can really control. Like you said, like I can make myself have a baby. Like, yeah, this isn't working. But if I keep doing this and if I keep doing this and the doctors will help me do this, then we're going to have a baby. But really, like you said, God is sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important thing we can do as the people in the scenario is to just come under his will, like come under alignment with whatever he's trying to do because he's sovereign, like it's in his hands. You know, I think we think that it's a bad thing to be infertile or to not to be barren or this, that, and the other, but it's not always the case. Like we all know that bad things happen, trials and tribulations, right? In this world you'll have them. But it's not, yeah, God's plan is good.
Mm-hmm.
And if his plan is good, that no matter what I go through, there is a good result. There is a good ending.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? He can use everything for the good.
Most
of
definitely.
those of us who love him. So it is important to remember God is sovereign. It might hurt. You can cry. You can do this, that, and the other, but he's working it out for you. It's all gonna be okay in the end. And that was a big one. Finally understanding how to trust God and that he is at the head of all of this, no matter what, no matter how we feel, no matter how bad it hurts. Like his plan is good, and it's to prosper us and not to harm us. Yeah, so that was helpful, I think, for us in this scenario, in our situation.
Of course. Of
Um,
course.
I also would say like how we were able to make peace with it would be like we started getting very honest
Yes.
about certain things. Like I know for myself, and I talked about this in the last episode, how I had this revelation about like I was just listening to everybody else's voice and not my own inner voice. And I think I wasn't being honest with myself about what I really wanted. Like when I finally got honest with myself and started looking at the life that I really wanted to create for myself, it didn't involve kids at the time, which is crazy because I was so like hell bent on this process. Like, okay, we want children. We're gonna do this, this, and this to get children. We're gonna spend this amount of money. I'm gonna get these surgeries. I'm gonna, you know, and like at the heart of it, it wasn't what I wanted. It was what I think everybody else expected of
Yeah, it's
me,
what society wanted.
and I wanted to please everybody else. But when I got honest with myself, I had to just be like, it's okay that you don't want this right now. Yes, other people will look at you and be like, but you should do this and you should do this. And are you sure you really want to stop trying to have a baby? Like, you're getting older. You know how old you are. Like, you know what they say.
Hmm.
But honestly, if it were supposed to be what I wanted, I would have this desire. Like, it would be an honest desire in me to have a child right now, be a mom right now, not just to do it because everybody said it's what I'm supposed to do. And obviously, it wasn't God's plan for me. So,
Obviously, it was not. Even
for
if
us,
I think there's a balancing point between um, what, even when it comes to what we want, and what God wills and timing. Because what we want may not be right for us at that right time. So it's not bad to have the desire. It may be bad because maybe the thing is, and I think we'll talk about this a little later. Like, cause I think if we would have had kids at that time, I don't think we would have been prepared for it. But I also think it's possible we may have. I don't say we would have made the children an idol, but I think
no, I agree. I 100% agree with that.
I think we would have lost
It
focus
was
on.
already an idol
Yeah, it was
for
already become.
me.
Yeah, it was an idol for you. It wasn't necessarily an idol for me. I think, but it could have become. I think, because
What do
meant.
should we explain what we mean when we say that? Because I don't know if everybody really gets.
Yeah. So to explain what that means, so when I say like making the children an idol, I think what I'm saying is so it's like in the priority list of order of what is most important to you. So what should be most important is God, and then of course your family, and then of course self care and then work, and other stuff like that, people around you, because you have to love the Lord your God first,
Seek
and
him
then
first.
I think in you finding as you love Him and you feel His love, then you learn how to love yourself. And then you got to share love with other people. You got to love one another. First, the loving one another should first come to those who are closest to you, your family, your spouse, then your kids, and then of course, and the other people around and strangers and such. You got to share the love. So I think when it comes to idolhood, it's when you take one thing and you place that thing as more important than God. So even though God is the giver of the gift, if you appreciate and love on the gift without showing any appreciation or love to the gifter, that's when the point of idolhood comes in. Because it's like, for example, you might get a car or a job, and then you don't. thank God for the actual car or the job or the house, and then you spend most of your time with that particular thing, and you don't give thanksgiving or grace, or not grace, but worship to the Lord for what
You
you actually
start
get.
worshiping the thing,
Yes, you
the
start worshiping
gift,
the thing and the gift
instead of the
instead of
giver.
worshiping the giver. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. I know for me that would have been the case because, as I said before, like my
You worship the
relationship.
kids.
Yes, yes, but let's be honest, people do worship their kids. Like they do. I think for me, like because my relationship with God wasn't as strong,
Mm-hmm.
particularly like it wasn't as strong then as it is now.
Most definitely.
After going through what the hell that I placed myself into, and He picked me out of it, my relationship with God is a lot stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, I think I just sought out so many different things to try to give me the peace that I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of came with like anything. Like I've dealt with anxiety all my life. So if I were anxious about something, I needed something to make me feel better. You know, whether that was throwing myself into
Ooh.
work or throwing myself into school or, you know, fitness or health or whatever, writing and things like that. Which some of those things can be a good thing. It's just that I was missing the mark. Like God should have been the first thing
Mm-hmm.
the first being that I turned to over, oh, I'm going to do some yoga or I'm going to meditate or I'm going to do this. Those are still healthy things, but He should have been 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And I was definitely worshiping a lot of other things, or, you know, putting more energy and time into other things that I thought were going to bring me peace instead of God,
Ooh.
who is the giver of peace,
Ew.
right?
The Prince of Peace.
Yeah. So I know for a fact, because the way my mind was at the time and how set on having a kid, or I'll just say getting pregnant, because that was really the goal. Like how set on getting pregnant I was. I know if I would have gotten pregnant, it would have been like, all right, let's put our full energy into this child and all this stuff. And I don't have time for God. Like, I don't have to think about what I'm going to do now that I'm pregnant and what we're going to do with, you know, now that the baby's coming. Like, God is going to be on the back burner. He is the giver of the baby and the giver of the gift, but I don't have time to worship. I got to do this, this, and the other. So, yeah, that would have been me.
Yeah, we would have been looking at the children as the placeholder of our joy,
Ooh, yeah.
when our joy and delight should be in the Lord first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the trials and tribulations, though, I was just thinking about this. I think a lot of times, and I've come to this point recently, and this just comes with maturity and going through the trials. I think that's helped. Understanding that when you ask for something, God doesn't just give you what you're asking for. He gives you the opportunity or the trial that you can learn or get what you want. Like if you want peace, you might go through hell or some
To
struggle
get your peace.
to
Yep.
understand or get your peace. Or if you want patience, He's gonna place opportunities before you
Gonna test your
to
patience.
to allow you to grow in patience.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
I think we've gotten to the point where we're very lazy, to the point where like when we ask for something, we just want what we ask for. When with God, part of the process is the process. It's the growth process where it's like, okay, you're asking for this particular thing. I'm going to place you in a position to actually learn. Like if you want to be a leader, I'm going to place you in positions how to actually learn how to become a leader. Or if you want to, you want to grow in a particular skill or, peace or joy, I'm going to place you in positions where you can learn, or maybe you can find ways to be joyful in the bad times, so that way when the good times come, you have an appreciation for that when it's there, and you don't lose yourself in the actual joy, in the good things. So I think it's all about growing us, because He can see the deficiencies that we have,
Oh, yes.
so that way He can know what we need to work on or improve on, so that way in both good and bad, um, as Paul says, I can be content. So
Yeah, He knows us better than we know ourselves. So trust Him. Trust Him with you. Oh, and I think this is a good one too. Like for me, being honest with myself was important. Being honest with you was important.
next step, yes.
And I think that was really how we were able to like make peace over it. But being honest with God,
Mm.
like when I finally started just crying out, I just felt like a weight lift off of me. Like there were so many times that I think throughout the whole process, I was holding in so much.
Mm-hmm.
I was just holding in so much emotions because I just didn't think anybody around me was going to understand if I shared them. So at that point, I was either sharing it with you, maybe a little. I was sharing it with my therapist, and like that was it. Like I didn't even think taking it to God was a safe place because I thought I would be ungrateful, or like if I'm angry about this, or if maybe I'm envious of somebody else about this. Like these aren't things I'm supposed to feel, so I need to like hide them away in my heart, even though God knows my heart. Like
Yep.
He already knows what I'm feeling, right? So I was keeping those emotions away from Him. And when I finally started bringing them to Him, casting my cares,
Mm-hmm.
like all of it, the anger, the hurt, the, whatever jealousy I had, comparing myself to people, like all of that in earnest, He started giving me more peace about it because He was carrying my burden
Okay.
when I couldn't.
Most definitely.
It was too heavy for me.
I think that's what we take for granted as people. I think we take, like, because God knows, we use the phrase, God knows my heart. And so then we choose not to actually speak to him about it because we're like, he already knows how I feel. He should just know, he can do. But the thing is, I think we take for granted is that even though God knows our heart, he wants us to speak our heart to him.
Ooh,
And
yes.
it's all throughout Scripture, from Genesis on throughout to Revelation. God wants to have that dialogue and conversation with us, and He allows us that freedom to be able to, speak our hurt, speak our doubts, speak all that to Him because He wants to hear it from us. He wants us to be honest with Him. I mean, all throughout Psalms and throughout Lamentations, people are crying out to God. They're talking to God about how they feel about certain situations. They're being honest about their anger or
Right.
their hurt, or how they feel, how they want God to save them. They're looking for salvation and deliverance. But the thing that I think that's a key driving point behind all those things is they're crying out to God and they're being honest with God about how they feel and what they want, and what they desire. And at the end of the day, they just want His presence, to be there with them because they may feel abandoned even though He is there presently. But they want to be, I guess, like Hagar in a sense. They want to have the God that sees them. And they want to feel that He sees them. And I just want to let y'all know that God does see you, and He's waiting for you to speak with Him and be honest and open with Him, so that way they can start that dialogue. We start the dialogue with Him. We are the initiators, but He's always open, ready to speak with us. But the thing is, we're ignoring God,
Yeah.
and not having the dialogue. I don't know how you would feel, but I think I would feel some type of way if
My
we
child was ignoring me.
yeah, if I might know how they were feeling, but then like I know I don't like it, or at least in the past when you used to think like I should have know what you felt, when it's like, no, you should just talk to me and tell me how you feel. Like I may have known something was wrong.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm not omniscient or know everything like God, but I can, you can pick up on certain things. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, tell me what's going on. Let's have this honest conversation so I can know. But in that case with God, it's not Him knowing. I think it's just a matter of like, I just don't have that honest conversation with you because I want you to feel open enough or comfortable enough that when you have issues or concerns or you're feeling type of way, that you can come to me.
Mhm.
I'm the first person that you come to, and then
The first.
that you connect with, and then we can work on the actual process to get through it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So there was that, being honest with yourself, being honest with your spouse, being
Mm-hmm.
honest with God.
Yep.
I think that helps to help you get through
Release the burden.
infertility. Yes,
Release the
releasing
burden.
Ooh, that reminds me. I think so. I think another thing is prayer. Obviously, prayer and releasing the burden, casting your cares, creating an open relationship with God, and speaking to Him about what you want. All go together. But I remember, and I don't remember exactly when in the timeline this was. I think it was somewhere in year 2 when I was like really, I think, going through a depression. And I remember, and I don't even know why this came to me, but I remember just crying out. And I was on the floor, and I was like, God, if it's not time,
Mm.
take this desire from me.
Mm.
Like, I think I got desperate enough that I just cried out, like, take it from me. If it's not time for us to have a child, like, whatever your will is,
Mm.
let it be done.
Mm.
Because this pain and this, oof, just, what's the word? Misery, kind of. Like, I was driving myself crazy and making myself miserable and being tormented, honestly, by demons. Like, spiritual warfare is a real thing. We'll probably talk about that at some point. It won't be in this episode, but like, I was in torment. And I was just like, God, if it's not time, if this is not what you want, if you don't want us to have a baby, take this desire from me. And I want to say about a month or two later, because it didn't happen automatically. It happened faster, honestly, than I thought it would have. But a month, I think it was like a month later, is when the revelation fell on me that the desire wasn't from me. Like, I did not desire to have a child the way some people desire to have a baby. I desired to please the people who wanted me to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had FOMO. I had the fear of missing out on what this life was that I was supposed to have. You know what I mean? Especially in Christian circles or in the church, we get married, you know, we have the kids, you know, we buy the house or whatever. Like, even just America, like, that's how our society functions.
That is
you
the
know
American
what I mean?
dream.
As much as we want to say we're away from that, like, it is the American dream. Like, okay, you're married, now you're gonna have kids, now you're gonna buy the house, now you're gonna do this. And that was my desire. I wanted to fit in with this image, this perfect image of what society and the church had for me. And after I cried out that prayer, it had to be like within that month or the next month that through certain scenarios, like other people and conversations that I had with people, it hit me. You know what I mean? And I think I had to cry out in order for him to respond to the request. Like, I think had to get that desperate, and I had to say the things in order for him to say, you know, here.
I think the key thing that kind of jumped out at me was you saying, Lord, if it is your will.
You got to be careful with those words, though, because every time I say those words, every time, he's like, okay, I'm going to do it. Anyway.
His will will be done. That is the go-to. But I think the biggest thing is, like, even though you should feel comfortable enough to go to him with your feelings and your thoughts and your hurt, your pain, your doubts, and your desires. At the end of the day, like, I think you gotta get to the point where you don't look at God as a vending machine, where you can, you know, put in, you know, the prayer and you're gonna get back what you desire, what you want. Because at the end of the day, what you want may not be good for you. God doesn't always work in the same way. And also, at the end of the day, He has a will and a purpose for your life that is the best for you. And you can't see the big picture, but obviously He can. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, even though you can go to Him with your dreams and your thoughts and your wants, I think at the end of the day, it's accepting His sovereignty and His kingship, and knowing that I can bring it to you, Lord. But at the end of the day, if this is not the best for me, then you and your sovereignty do what is best for me. And I give you free will or free access in my life to do your will.
Access. That was good. Come on. I got excited. Access my life. Access me. Yeah. So prayer works. Prayer changes things. Being honest, being open with God. What else? What else did we say? Oh, we said releasing control and trusting God, trusting His goodness, trusting His plan.
You have to trust He is good.
Trust He is good.
Trust He is good, and His plans are good.
To prosper.
He is not going to put me in an awful, evil spot. That is not God's will. If it's not, ooh, this song be hit me, Joy in the Morning. If it does not look good now, then he's not done with it yet. Because the end result has to be good.
I almost started singing. Almost got me. Yeah, good song. Yeah. I think another thing that really helped um, us to find peace was gratitude.
Most definitely.
And I'm pretty sure you hit this before I did. Because I won't say now, but for sure, like in the past, I tend to ruminate on like the more negative things that are happening instead of focusing on the positive. I like to think I've changed my mindset on those things a lot in the last year. But showing gratitude, having gratitude in your heart for the things that you do have instead of the things that you don't have. Because like I said, we don't have kids yet. They're not here. We are technically still in our infertility journey, even though we're telling the story and all that. Like, it hasn't ended. We're still in it. It hasn't changed. Our scenario hasn't changed, but how we think about it has changed. Like, we are grateful for what we do have. We're grateful for God. First of all, we're grateful for each other in the relationship that we have, and especially the way it has grown during this, because infertility hurts marriages. It can end your marriage. Particularly if you're not equally yoked, if you're not on the same page.
If you let it.
If you're not on the same page, it can be disastrous for your relationship. And I'm grateful that we grew together stronger instead of being pulled apart. I think there were moments where we were getting pulled apart, but God is good, and we're here together going through this. So I'm grateful for that. Grateful for life. Breath in my body. Lots to be grateful for. I think if you focus on what you can be grateful for instead of the lack and the things that you don't have, you can automatically be in a more positive space.
I think that's huge. I think at the end of the day, no matter what your situation is, no matter how much hell is going on, how much struggle, how bad it looks, there is something in your life that you have to be thankful for. Even if it's just the fact, like, I'm still living. I take gratitude down to the smallest things. Like, Lord, I'm thankful I can walk. I'm thankful I can see. I'm thankful I can hear. That is big. Thankful I can speak. Thankful I can still write. I'm thankful for the ideas and creativity that you gave me. I'm thankful for gifts. I'm thankful for the friendships or the relationships I have. I'm thankful, even if you're alone, you have something to be thankful for. Because it may be that you got something to eat, or thankful that you got a place to stay, or you have warmth, or thankful
you woke up.
That you woke up this morning.
You woke up.
You have life.
Some people did not.
You have another moment.
Another chance.
There's a long list of stuff that you have to be grateful for, and gratitude is huge. And I think, for me, I'm been on this tip where it's like, as far as like the things that I can give God out of everything He's given me, I can give God my gratitude. I can give God my worship, and that's a part of gratitude. And then also I can give God my obedience. In that obedience is my trust. Like, those are the four things I can give God, and all that links together, because if I trust in God and I trust in His goodness, then I'll be obedient. If I trust in God, then I find a way to be thankful and grateful for everything that I've received, and then also I can worship because of my gratitude. I think gratitude and trust are the main linkages there. And if you're honest with yourself about that, then you can truly see the things that you're grateful for or thankful for. And I think when you get out of that point of being grateful or have gratitude for things, I think that's when your perspective really shifts, and you can't really be in a position where you can grow, and that you can be good. Because if you're unthankful for everything in your life, you don't have a single thing that you feel you can be grateful for, then you're not going to worship, you're not going to be obedient, you're not going to be able to have good relationships with people, because you're so unthankful, and that unthankfulness is going to bleed into how you treat other people and how you actually move forward with things, which is going to lead to an unsuccessful life, in a very
a heavy heart.
Yes.
Like, it's just heavy to be miserable, to just be woe is me. Is heavy. People can sense it too. When you come into the room, they feel it on you. You know what I mean? And yeah. So there's that. Gratitude super important.
And you have that choice. You have the choice
Mm.
to be grateful.
Yep. Yep. I think the last thing I would say that really helped us get through and kind of just even now, particularly like on a day-to-day basis, when the enemy will try you, right? Like he will try to get you to be like, oh, you sure this isn't what you want? Like this is what you want. This is what you want.
The lies.
Yeah, like particularly when, and this is just me being transparent, like I'm probably gonna whatever. This is our show, so we're gonna talk about it. Like when I'm on my period, I think back to the moments where getting my period used to make me sad because it meant that I wasn't pregnant, right? And though I know so much right now that I don't desire to have a baby at this moment, it still like sometimes will trigger something in me. Like I don't know if it's like just the trauma of the memory of like remember when your period came and you were like, oh, you know, but it will still be like a little piece of me will be like, oh, so you still not pregnant, huh? You know what I mean? Like it will try to take me back to where I was because that's how the enemy works. So for me, I really had to refocus my energy and my thoughts and just refocus everything that I was thinking about then, which was this all-consuming TTC journey, and focus on the things that I do think God has for me right now. Like refocusing on what my purpose is, what He put me here to do. Like there's a reason why we don't have children right now. What is the reason? Like if I get in relationship with Him and He starts telling me things and He starts revealing to me like, hey, I have this for you to do, I have this for you to do, like this is your purpose, this is why I put you here. I think even like focusing on what we're doing now, like there's no way we would even have a show if we didn't go through this infertility process.
Yep.
If we weren't going through infertility and had to go through everything we went through the last 2 years, there would be no show. There would be no us speaking about God and Jesus right now, which to me I think is the ultimate purpose and the ultimate plan for believers. He wants us to spread the good news, right? So I had to refocus my energy and my mind on the things of God and seek His kingdom first, knowing that all these things, baby, whatever else I want, will be added unto me.
Yep. But seek His kingdom first. I'd say as far as like purpose, we gotta, at least for me, it was kind of one of those things as far as learning, like the trials and struggles helped me to grow and be where I need to be, helped me to become the person I am to be, grow closer to Him, so that way I can better be more bold and speak about, what He wants us to speak about, as well as understanding more of like part of the journey in our purpose is to be able to make an impact, to grow kingdom, to understand who I am better in Christ, so that way I can be more confident in that to help other people to be confident. I mean, with us, all the different things we're doing, like the show, I have a Bible study I'm doing. As far as like that, I probably wouldn't be doing that if we had kids right now. Working on, writing and other different things. There's so much that God has given me as far as ideas and different things He wants me to implement that I probably would not be in position to do if it wasn't for the fact that I'm in the right spot and availability to do it, which I think is very, very important. Like God has a different purpose for everybody. And He has different timing for different things, and the kids weren't in the timing, and I can trust in Him because I mean obviously we're not doing anything to stop the process from kids actually coming. It hasn't happened yet, so it's within His control from that standpoint. So I trust His timing in that, and I trust Him in that, and I think that has helped me to trust my purpose. That He has for me right now, which I think is very, very huge.
Yeah, yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one last thing I'd like to do is, well, two. If you have anything particular you want to reach out to us about, talking about your story or feeling that you want to kind of share anything, you can comment below in the video, or you can email us at transparent with the Townsends at gmail.com. But also, I just want to say, if you're watching this video now and you want that peace from the Lord, you want to be able to get to a position where you can become more transparent and honest with yourself, with others, and with God, and you want to be able to move from a position of ungrateful or unthankful to a position of gratitude, and being able to feel, you want to release that control, that burden. I want to speak to you now, and I want to ask that if you're in a position where you want to kind of get away from where you were and you want to receive better, Jesus has an open hand to you. So I just want to let you know, if you want to receive Him as Lord of your life, right now all you need to do is just believe that He died on the cross and was raised 3 days later and ascended for us in the forgiveness of our sins. He did that for you. He loved you enough that He went through that suffering, that trial, and that struggle for us, to allow us to be able to get back in right relationship with God, to be able to be seated in heavenly places with Him. And that time is coming. So if you just receive Jesus, then we welcome you as brother. If you receive Him as Lord, we thank you. And yeah.
Yeah. Because I got to say, man, the peace that I have now, oh, man, the peace that I have now. And it's like the real peace, you know what I mean? Like, not the peace that you find when you're searching for it in things that can't provide eternal peace. Or can't, they substitute, like if you're like, oh, I'm sad, I'm going to go watch this show and just get it off my mind for a little bit, and it comes back, like the peace that I get to carry with me every day now, because I've chosen to have relationship with Jesus Christ, to get to know my Father in heaven better. It's like I literally feel like a new person some days. Like I literally feel like a new person. I feel better equipped when the attacks of the enemy come and try to remind me of the things that I went through. And that's important,
Very important.
Going out into your everyday life, still dealing with things, still fighting the same fight. Like, you got to have new tools. You got to have new tools. Yeah.
So that's it, guys. We love you guys. We thank you for watching. Definitely feel free to continue to connect with us, and stay tuned.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Share. Whatever it is that people do for these YouTube
Continue
things.
to follow us. And we are looking forward to our podcast crew who's listening to as well. We welcome you guys because we got the podcast up and running.
Yay.
So we love you guys. See you next time.
God bless.